Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the LCC Student and Community Listening Session. Your participation is appreciated, and we're so thankful that you care enough to be with us this afternoon. So thank you to all of our employees that are here today. Thank you for any community members, and also a special thank you to Trustee Vey for being here with us today. What we'd like to do is start off with a welcome from Dr. Robinson, and then after that, we will show a strategic planning video, because what we'd like to do is make sure that you all have a good idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about strategic planning. And then after that, Dr. Robinson will provide some opening remarks, and hopefully we'll have more members of the community with us at that time. And then we'll go to the presentation as scheduled today. So Dr. Robinson, I'll turn it over to you for a welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. Hello to everyone who's joining us today. Strategic planning is a vitally important part of what we have going on at Lansing Community College as a way for us to live out our mission. So we're really happy that you're here and investing your time and energy, because we want to hear from you. Dr. Samuel is going to walk you through a very thoughtful process that we've put together to make sure that we're being good listeners as a college, and that we take your feedback into consideration as we plot a path forward to live out our mission as the comprehensive community college serving Mid-Michigan. So we're happy that you're here with us today. We've got some great opportunity for you to be involved today. And I just want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to help us craft the future of Lansing Community College.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. And I'll share a couple more comments while Patrick prepares the video that we're going to see this morning. So we had our listening sessions or our brainstorming sessions for our employees during the month of February, and those were great. And I do appreciate the employees that participated in that process. And I see some that are here with us today. And for me, that just really shows your dedication to this process and your commitment to the college and your commitment to seeing improvement within various areas of the college. So I do want to say thank you. And I want to let you know that even though we had those sessions on Friday that were geared towards employees, I want to make sure that as we go through this community listening session today, that you share any feedback that you might have. And even though you've already shared some during the other sessions, I want to make sure that you're welcome to speak in this forum also. So with that, I will turn it over to Patrick, who will share an 8-minute video with us. Patrick?
Lansing Community College is a national leader and powerhouse institution.
Lansing Community College is
Lansing Community College.
Community college in Lansing, Michigan.
But wait, this doesn't just happen, and it certainly didn't occur overnight. You, our faculty and staff, made this happen, and it started 4 years ago.
A strategic plan is a way for an organization to come to consensus about its identity and what the actions will be going forward. It's about our people, our faculty, our staff, and what we do for the students and communities we serve.
This is big work, and because of the commitment of faculty and staff across the college, we've seen big results. Our 2017 to 2021 strategic plan had 5 major focus areas: engaged learning and student success, leadership, culture, and communication, community engagement, competitiveness and innovation, resource management, and fiscal responsibility.
There has been movement on every single project or initiative in our current strategic plan. Now that says a lot about the people we have here and their commitment to our students, our community, and really to making a difference.
Let's take a look at the results of our big work.
Well, the Accessibility Initiative was a college-wide project to ensure that we were able to make accessible all courses, forms, documents, materials.
That we want to make sure that LCC is a place that's inclusive to people with
a variety of disabilities. And that not only includes our students, but also faculty and staff as well. That's why it's important.
The RISE Institute is designed to encourage ownership of professional growth while also giving an opportunity for faculty to enhance their own learning in a concise format. And so it's important to our strategic plan because it supports our faculty. It enhances the support that we need for our staff to be successful in administering support services to our students.
The Applause Awards are unique in that they allow all of our employees to participate in an informal, direct feedback recognition of good things their peers are doing. It's very direct. So it's a very quick and easy way for people to say thank you.
Student open forums were created to offer students an opportunity to come together and give us some opinions and perspectives on their experience at LCC. We want to know what they need, we have to ask the students. They know what they need. And so if we give them an opportunity to share with us what they need, we can help them be successful.
One of our primary priorities was to launch the Award Showcase, which is a formal recognition program that we really needed for the college. And we learned so much about the individuals we have working with us and their qualifications and skills and things that they do in the community that we would not otherwise know. It's a beautiful thing.
C3R is the Coalition for College and Career Readiness. I really can tell that the strategic plan has really driven everything that C3R does. Everything we do is data-driven. It involves all the stakeholders, and it's really tied to the community college mission of engaging and serving the needs of our community.
We were tasked with identifying a long-term strategy to meet the student and employees' parking needs. It was really critical to getting all the subject matter expertise that we needed at the college to have a successful project. So bringing all those folks together in a structured way was really critical to our success.
So Program in a Minute is a tremendous initiative designed to educate and inform our potential student body and our existing student body of the dynamics of numerous and diverse programs offered by LCC. So it's very, very successful. Students and prospective students are finding it very informative and entertaining and enlightening.
The program is really important because ultimately it results in higher student success. Even more importantly, it's about letting students have access to really high quality materials at no cost or very, very low cost.
You have an idea of something you want to try in the class that might help learning, might help students. We'll work with you to figure out how we can do this and connect to the larger community, the larger public. We're, first only community college doing some of this stuff and breaking ground in a bunch of different directions that we hadn't even envisioned.
So Grow with Google was a tremendous partnership and continues to be a great partnership between LCC and Google. And the intent was for individuals to improve their skill sets, enhance their careers, and help grow their small businesses. We delivered almost 90 programs, trained over 500 individuals.
This was just a glimpse at some of the incredible work we've been able to accomplish. There are a number of additional projects, both completed and underway, in all of the major focus areas. So what's next? We've made it to 2021, but this is far from the end.
We have a responsibility to answer the call of our students and community. That's part of what this strategic plan refresh is all about. Taking a look and acknowledging all the incredible work that's been done, charting a path to complete the projects that are still outstanding, and then building upon what we've learned over this past year and charging forward.
We're adding diversity, equity, and inclusion as an additional focus area because it's extremely important. Now, more than ever, it's imperative that we take a stand to ensure that our college is on the right side of history and that we didn't stay silent or accept the status quo.
We have to be committed to building and sustaining an environment where everyone feels safe, welcome, and included. And so with your help, that's exactly what we're going to continue to do. Every person that works here plays a pivotal role in us achieving our goals. You have a say in the work that we do. Your voice matters, and we want and need to hear it.
Get involved in the big work and help us get big results.
I wanted to work on things that would really help our students.
I think strategic planning is important because it gives us a roadmap to complete the work that we're trying to do.
So being a part of this really made me feel like my voice mattered.
Don't just go to the meetings to be there. Go to make a difference.
We have an opportunity to create real change with this work.
I think everyone should get involved. If you hear about the college, the students, and our community, the work that we do, this is a great way to show it.
Your voice will make a difference, and we want and need to hear it. To each and every person, department, and program that has worked on these projects, thank you for doing the big work and getting big results.
Thank you. Hopefully that video was somewhat inspiring to you. It was definitely inspiring for me because it really is a review of what we've done in the past through strategic planning. And for me, it helps me understand that we did such great things, such big work, and we can certainly do more. And so the purpose of the student and community listening session is really so that we can listen to the community and our students with respect to what we need to do in the future. And understanding that people have different schedules, we have an email address that we have out there that you can send your thoughts to if you're not able to participate via chat or you don't feel comfortable speaking up. You can certainly just send an email to strategicplan@lcc.edu. We will always have that email address out there during the strategic planning process. So that's important for everybody to remember. We do have some individuals that are watching us via the YouTube live stream, and it's my understanding that they have been given information that will help them move over to the WebEx if they would like to. The importance of being on the WebEx is that you will be able to make your actual voice heard today instead of just sending in information via the chat. But either way, we'll take whatever and however you want to communicate with us, but just want to make sure you know that that's an option for you, and we would love for you to join the WebEx session so that your voice can be heard. Now, what we'd like to do today before we get into our actual strategic planning process is to review what we're doing here at LCC with respect to strategic planning. That way, you'll have some context for what we're doing. As you saw in the video, we have 6 main focus areas for our strategic plan. So the first is community engagement, followed by leadership, culture, and communication, engaged learning and student success, competitiveness and innovation, resource management and fiscal responsibility, and then diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so what we're going to do is we're going to define all of these things for you so that you understand what we believe these represent and what we're trying to accomplish through each of these focus areas. But before we get there, I just want to kind of give you a review of strategic planning at LCC. The reason that we like to do this is because a strategic plan really tells the story of who we are and who we want to be in the future. So our goal here is to focus and to have the community provide insight into who the college should be in the future. So there's a big emphasis on aspiration and who we aspire to be in the future. But there's also an emphasis on making sure that we address strategic issues that are facing higher education. And that could be something that could challenge or impact our mission, how we provide our academic programs, our student services, how we value our employees, our students, our revenue sources, and how we work with our external stakeholders. So those are things that we consider strategic issues, things that can impact the way we do business and the way we service our community. And so here are some examples of strategic issues. Obviously, COVID-19 is one big strategic issue that we're dealing with right now. The whole nation is dealing with, but that's one thing. But for higher education, we're also looking at inclusion, cybersecurity, equity, matters of health and safety, market relevance, enrollment decline. Those are some of the things that we know impact us and how we do business. So we challenge you to think about those things as you put together your comments and thoughts about what the college can do to address these issues within each of our focus areas. So, as I said before, this really is about listening to the community. So I'll provide a context and some definitions for each of these areas, but then it's our hope that you'll provide some feedback to us. We have ideas, but we're certainly more interested in your ideas at this point. So in terms of community engagement, this is how we define it. And I won't read the whole thing, but we're really looking for mutually beneficial relationships with our city officials, agencies, our neighborhood organizations, and our local businesses. And so we want to make sure that we are engaged in our community. And we've done some great things through our external relations department, but we want to do more, and we want to know if you are aware of the things that we're doing. And if not, how can we do a better job of making sure that you, our community, and our students understand what we're doing with community engagement and provide some input on what we should do that maybe we're not doing right now, or some insight on what we could do better. So what I'd like to do is present some questions for you. As you can see, there's several questions on this slide. Now, you may look at one of these questions and say, okay, I have an idea for that. But you may look at some of these questions and they're not necessarily things that stick out to you or things that you would like to provide input on, and that's perfectly fine. So they're just questions, and we're presenting them here. And if you would like to provide an answer or your thoughts with respect to these questions, then you can just put a note in the chat, and then Patrick will unmute you, and then we can hear your thoughts. So to start out, I will read these questions while you start thinking about whether you have some comments that you would like to share. Again, we're here to listen to you. So the first question is, how can we ensure that degree and certificate seeking students understand they belong here at LCC? How can we increase enrollment at LCC in general and/or for specific programs? Is the college viewed as a place where one can receive a valuable and quality education? If this is not our current reputation, then how can we change our reputation? Lastly, how can we build upon and strengthen existing relationships with our legislative partners? If you have any thoughts on any of those things, please share it with us. And Patrick, you can let me know if you see anything in the chat line for YouTube. I do find that these questions are rather important because we certainly want to increase enrollment at the college. Those of you who are not intimately involved with LCC or the higher education industry in general may not know that enrollment has been decreasing in the Midwest specifically for quite some time. So it's not necessarily an LCC thing. It has a lot to do with what's going on in our society. It has a lot to do with the number of high school students that are graduating. That number has decreased year over year for at least the last 10 years. And so that's obviously going to impact the number of students that are enrolled in community colleges and even at universities. But also we have an increase in educational opportunities for students. They can go to for-profit schools, they can go to community colleges, they can go to universities, they can even be educated within the company that they work for on how to operate in their particular field. So there's so much choice out there, and that has a lot to do with enrollment. The other thing that I think is important here is reputation. LCC is able to provide a quality education, and many of our faculty members are faculty members that are also adjunct faculty or either full-time faculty at places like University of Michigan and Michigan State University. So we know we have quality education, but that's something that I'm not quite sure if it's communicated a lot, where people actually know that the same professors that are teaching at MSU and U of M are often teaching here at LCC. So I see that we do have a comment from Lane Ingram. So Patrick, if you can unmute Lane Ingram, we will take a listen to what Lane has to say about the third question. Lane?
I was just saying, number 3 just reminds me that, I think overall we do have a great reputation. I think people in our region, in our community, across the country know about LCC, but those might be the people that are supposed to know about LCC, And so when I think about potential students and what they know about the college, and you see information about like the Michigan Reconnect or the Frontliners, right? Like that's pointing direct attention at technical colleges and trade schools, and that's showing the value. And sometimes when we talk about LCC, we know it's great, and we kind of talk about it as if people should know that. And it just reminds me that we might have to explain, what our value is and why we have a quality education, So that was it. That's what number 3 made me think of.
Right, that's really good, Lane. Thank you for those comments. I know that I've had some conversations with people within the college about our messaging and how we send our messages out there with respect to what we do and who we are. And a lot of times, not just with Lansing Community College, but community colleges in general often place a lot of emphasis on the cost of education and the comparison of that cost to the cost of a university education. But there's more to us than that. So I appreciate your comments, and I think that's something that we can certainly work on doing better in the future. Now, are there any other comments before we go to our next focus area? If not, keep in mind, if you think of anything or you look at these questions and you have some additional feedback that you want, it looks like we have a hand up. Someone would like to speak.
Hi, sorry, Dr. Samuels, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I can't find the little hand raise button anymore. I don't know where it went. But listening to Lane talk, it really made me think about my husband went to LCC and then transferred to MSU. And when he got there, was very surprised to discover that it was similar faculty that he had experienced, but in a less intimate setting. And I think in a lot of ways he was disappointed with his decision to transfer. And I know we don't do 4-year degrees at LCC, but I think really that knowledge that these are the same faculty, but you're going to get to know them on a much more personal level and get a more custom approach to your learning is something that I don't think is really well known in the community, but it's such a great, thing that LCC has to offer.
Right. Thank you, Trustee Vave. I appreciate those comments because that's a testimony, and it's a testimony of the value of what we do and the quality of our education. And I like that you mentioned the word custom, because I think that's good. I think that's a good message that you can customize your education here at Lansing Community College. Dr. Robinson, I believe you have a comment.
I do, Dr. Samuel, thank you. Before we move on to the next set of focus questions, I would love to make a connection between what Trustee Vave just said and the observation that Lane made. Before I do that, I want to let everybody here in the WebEx know that while most of us are connected to the college, we have a trustee, we have a lot of employees, we do have folks from the community observing on YouTube. And so I think that we can feel free to weigh in on these questions. And I want to point out to our entire team that if we don't have a long line of community members waiting to give their feedback, that doesn't mean folks aren't interested. In fact, I was telling Dr. Samuel earlier that the opportunity to provide this feedback is almost as important as getting it. So it's great that we're having this session. And because there aren't dozens and dozens of community members here, I don't want anybody to feel alarmed by that or thinking that that's a bad thing. It's the middle of the day and people have a lot of things going on. And as Dr. Samuel pointed out, we have a 24/7 line of communication on input for this with the strategic planning email. Okay, with all that said, Trustee Vave made, I think, a really important point that connects to this belonging in question 1. Okay, we have something that maybe we should be more loud and proud about, and that we have a faculty who make students feel really connected to what we're doing. And if you connect that to what Lane said in that third question about how we're perceived, I think there's an opportunity for us to maybe take more control of crafting that perception and bragging about some of these things. Because Trustee Vave is exactly right. We have a lot of students move from us to a larger research university, and they're dealing with a lot of the same curriculum, a lot of the same people, but they come away with a more connected feeling here at LCC. And so I think that's something that we should be good listeners about to make sure that we can tell the story. So that's what I wanted to contribute. And I also wanted to let folks know that even though there isn't a virtual line out the door for lots of community members to sign in, this is a really worthwhile process. And I'm glad we're going through it.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I think that's a great observation. And I will say that we are aware that there were some technical difficulties with Verizon and a couple other carriers today that we've received feedback where it's difficult for people to have access to their internet today. And so, that could be some of it, but you're absolutely right. We know that we have a strong community interest in what we're doing here at LCC, and that's why these sessions are important. And we did specifically have a session this afternoon, and then the session on Friday is in the morning because we'd like to make sure that people have the opportunities that they need to provide input. In addition to that, we'll have these questions on our website, and anyone can answer these questions and send their thoughts to strategicplan@lcc.edu because we definitely want that feedback. Now, Dr. Glasgow put something very interesting in the chat, and I would love for her to share that if you can, Dr. Glasgow. The Did You Know game?
Sure. And so I spend a lot of time in the community. I've been in the community since I was 12. And anytime I go to the dentist or I'm in the grocery store, I will play the Did You Know game. And what I find out is usually people don't know things like the number of nurses we prepare. Did you know that we have a high school on our campus? Did you know that? And you can fill in the blank. And it's a great way to help individuals understand LCC without doing an elevator speech. It's just casual conversation while I am going through the grocery line at Meijer. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, if I say, did you know, they'll make a connection, but they may not know the answer to the question, or they'll tell me, I attended LCC without fail. Either they attended or someone in their family or someone that they know. It is really, really exciting to be able to share some of those things that we know. And I think sometimes we may assume that everyone knows.
Thank you, Dr. Glasgow. I think that's an excellent way for us to be advocates for this college, to play that did you know game. And in order to do that, obviously, we have to spend some time on our website and also spend some time just making sure that we are the best advocates that we can be, so that when we are out in the community, we can certainly find something that maybe people don't know and be able to present it. So thank you for sharing that. And also I see some comments from Jennifer Davis with respect to MSU and Dr. Robinson. And I feel the same way as a graduate of MSU. I do think that it certainly would be more beneficial to start out at a community college instead of going straight to MSU. So I echo those sentiments. And then I see that Andrea Terry had a comment that this is a great idea, a great way to teach others in the community about LCC. And Dr. Sally Welch had some comments about our university center. And I think that's really important because people sometimes don't understand those options about our 3+1 programs. And since we do have some community members on the line, Dr. Welch, would you like to expound on that a little bit?
I'd be happy to. Thank you for the opportunity. I was having a conversation with the director of the University Center yesterday, and we realize it's the best kept secret in Lansing, and we need to work really hard to figure out how to communicate out what a 3+1 is and the advantage to it. Basically, you can take 90 credits at LCC's tuition price and then 30 credits at the university. So you're getting almost a 2-for-1, roughly, in terms of your price point. So you could get your degree much cheaper through one of our university partners at a bachelor's degree, much cheaper than going 4 years at the bachelor at another institution, or 2 years at LCC and then 2 years at another institution. It's a great option. We have some wonderful staff over in the University Center that can help you. Our partners are the University of Michigan Flint, Central Michigan, Ferris State, Northwood, and Siena. But we also have some 3+1 options with some other schools. It's a great way to save money, get a great quality education.
Exactly. I'm in wholehearted agreement with you, Dr. Welch. And I do like Lane Ingram's point that Lane put in the chat, which is we have it all. We have it all. And we have to just make sure that we're able to communicate that. Now I'm going to go to the next focus area, but I encourage everyone to continue to put your ideas in the chat. Make sure that even after today, these questions will be on our website. And if you decide you want to respond to some of these, feel free to do so and send an email to strategicplan@lcc.edu. So our next focus area is engaged learning and student success. And so to provide context, I have the definition of what engaged learning is here. And afterwards, I'll show you the definition of student success. For engaged learning, we want to focus on excellent quality education and active participation in meeting our career goals and educational goals of our students. And we want to make the student experience at LCC, we want to help them connect their education to their career objectives. And so that's really important. That's engaged learning, not just sitting in a classroom and being spoken to, but being in a classroom, being engaged and having several points of interaction and discovery. In terms of student success, we understand that student success means something different to each student. So we measure student success in a number of different ways, such as completion of a course, certification, degree completion, retention, and persistence, etc. Because we know some students come here for a certificate, and some students come here because they just want to increase a skill. And some people may come here just to take a class. And if they are able to do what they endeavored to do when they started on that journey with LCC, then we consider that a success. So here's some questions for you, keeping those things in mind. First, how can we ensure that our coursework is engaging and students have a positive learning experience? Second, how can we positively impact educational outcomes for all LCC students through diversity, equity, and inclusion? Last, The college provides academic advising, success coach services, tutoring, financial aid, consulting, work opportunities, and many other services for our students. But are there any service gaps? These are the questions that we want to present to you. And this is really important because we really do try to make sure that we have wraparound services for our students, whatever support they need to be successful during their educational journey. That's what we endeavor to do. So if there are any gaps, we would certainly appreciate you letting us know what those might be. And then also from a student perspective, if you have ideas about how we can make the classroom more engaging, please share those with us. So I will open the floor for comments on this particular session. And Patrick, if you can just let me know if you see any comments in the YouTube live session that you can share with us. So I see Andrea Terry has a comment. Andrea, can you unmute and share your comment with us verbally, please?
Yes, my comment says peer-to-peer mentoring. This is a gap that we can fill. And what I mean by that is a collaboration between our high schools, LCC, and then MSU and our university center colleges and universities, in a way to collaborate on a peer-to-peer mentorship to work with our high school students that then intend to move on to LCC and then intend to move on to MSU, or, and I should have also said this, or maybe an apprenticeship program or industry rather than MSU and University Center. That way the students are able to talk to each other and learn from each other in a mentorship way. We know that students, you know, yes, they listen to, it's kind of like they'll listen to the babysitter or their friend over their parent, right? And then when they hear it from somebody else that may be saying the same thing others have been saying, they hear it in a louder and clearer way. And so peer-to-peer mentorship is an excellent opportunity that we can use. And I mentioned it in every strategic planning session that I was in, because it really does fit every single model that we offer in our strategic planning.
Thank you, Andrea. That is a very unique idea, and I appreciate it. And I think it means a lot, especially coming from someone who works with our youth. You work with our high school programs, and I think you understand the need for that connection more than anybody. So we appreciate you pointing that out, peer-to-peer mentoring. That's good. Thank you. Are there any other comments that anyone would like to share? I like what Jennifer Davis said, positive peer pressure. That's awesome. Peer-to-peer mentoring is positive peer pressure. Thanks for that, Jennifer. Dr. Robinson?
I would just like to add on the subject of peer-to-peer mentoring. Just recently, CapCan in our community and Dr. Glasgow got the college involved in watching a film that I can recommend highly. It's called Personal Statement, and it was a partnership between WKAR and all the post-secondary and K-12 partners here in town. I had the opportunity to talk with leaders from Michigan State and with the filmmaker on television about it. And I will post a link to this film in the chat. But central to it is having students get college application advice from their peers. Really powerful story. And so I really did want to connect that with what Andrea said. And there's some great models out there. All of these stories came from New York City. And we are benchmarking some of our student success activity off of one of those community colleges, the Borough of Manhattan Community College. So I'll post the link in about the film Personal Statement. And thanks for Andrea for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Dr. Robinson. I see that Carlotta has a comment in there. Carlotta, would you like to share that?
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I was thinking that when students get in trouble on our campus, we have policies and compliance codes and staff to facilitate that. And I think that that's important. We probably need to beef that up so that there's more cultural and community sensitivity to that process for students. I'm just experiencing some of the students that need that connection to the community or need someone to kind of understand the orientation or the perspective that they're coming from. And so it might be helpful for that office to be able to present more examples to students before they get in trouble of ways to behave, and might even make it possible for others at the college to help with that process of students being able to go to them and talk through different things that they're troubled by without feeling threatened by being reported, and maybe even places where employees can go and talk through things without just everybody getting in trouble.
Thank you, Carlotta. Did you have
I had a comment to that?
Sure, please do.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed over the years is so often we talk about students getting in trouble. And what I've noticed is that faculty are being, in my opinion, totally unreasonable in many of those circumstances. Students do get upset. This is a very stressful time. Students speak differently. Some of us as colleagues speak differently. We'll use language that some people find offensive at the simplest level. And so I think we might look for some sort of, I don't know if sensitivity training is quite the right word, but I think that many faculty need to have a better understanding of where our students are coming from and not be so quick to want to refer them to Student Judicial Affairs. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that comment. And it looks like we have some information in there from April from Davenport University, and I would certainly like for you to speak and join the conversation if you'd like to, April. I will say that I've had the pleasure of shadowing our marketing courses, and one thing that I noticed was that we had people from Davenport and other colleges, or excuse me, other universities that are local come in and talk to our students about programs that were available. And so they would come directly to the classroom. And I'm not sure if that's something that you have done, but I do know that that opportunity has been out there because I witnessed it myself with a couple universities coming over and talking to our students. So we certainly appreciate your participation. And April, if you'd like to speak, that's great. If not, we understand. And then after that, I know Trustee Vave has a comment.
Okay, thank you. I will just be brief. I am new to this role, so I will be in that capacity where I would love to connect with students in the classroom. Right now, I have set up virtual hours on Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I'll be joining my virtual hours where students can connect with me, but classroom presentations are something that we definitely welcome. We had a previous rep in this role, and I've just taken over this role, but I have worked with your students over the last 4 years, and I can look forward to continuing to do that.
Thank you, April. We appreciate that, and we appreciate you joining this session. Trustee Vave?
Welcome.
Thanks, Dr. Samuels. And please stop me if I'm talking too much. I really am here because I want to listen. But this conversation is making me think about in the ACCT Under 45 caucus, we've been talking a lot about doing living libraries, which for people who aren't familiar, it's basically instead of a book, you sit down with a person, and it's all different types of people, different backgrounds, who've had different experiences in their lives, who are prepared to sit down and just answer questions. And you can do it in a one-on-one format. It's a little less intimidating than having a group of people point at you and ask you questions, but it gives you the opportunity to say, this is a place where I have a cultural knowledge gap. This is something that I don't want to know, and I want to learn about it, and I don't really know how. So I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with a person who is prepared for the fact that I might ask questions in the wrong way, and can help me learn how to ask questions in the right way, who won't get offended if I say something wrong, and can help me learn as an individual. And I think LCC would be a great place to do something like this, because we have such a diverse community. If there were people that were interested, it might present an opportunity for other people to learn about what it's like to be someone other than you in this campus, in this community.
Right, that's excellent, Trustee Vave. Definitely, whenever you have something to say, please speak up. We want to hear, because you have great ideas also. And I will say that I like living libraries. I know that there's a couple ways that we can do that. I know personally, I have worked with students at the college where they have just said, you know what, I'm a student, I'm a business student, and I'm interested in just being able to sit down with someone and ask questions about what it's like to work in business. And so what I've done is I've just had students come in and talk to me, whatever questions they want to ask, and we have a good conversation. And whenever I have students that I have the privilege of working with, I often encourage them, you know what, you're interested in this, please go talk to this person. Let them know that I suggested that you talk to them, and have it, you know, about a 15-minute, 30-minute conversation, you know, anything to help you on your journey. So I love the idea of living libraries. So thank you for sharing that. I do see that Dean Rhonda Miller had a comment in there about recruitment. Would you like to share that, Dean Miller?
Can you hear me? I was
Yes.
muted. Okay, sorry about that. I love the idea of the living story. That is awesome. And maybe my response may be better tied to the first slide, but I had to step away. But when we're talking about encouraging the engagement of students in the classroom, one of the things that we don't have admissions reps, we have student engagement coordinators. And one thing they've been tasked with, and this was prior to COVID, was to work on an intentional recruitment plan. And that involved having prospective students come in and drill down on what that student is interested in. So if there was a student who was interested in sociology and a possible transfer, during that recruitment visit on campus, we would bring in faculty from that area, or take the student to that classroom, allow them to sit in the room, in a class or in a lab, and be engaged as a way to foster the sense of, I see myself here. I see that I can do this. This person knows me. And much like you mentioned, Dr. Samuel, it gives them an opportunity to talk to somebody in the situation who works in the field, as many of our faculty work in the field and also teach at other institutions. So that's just another level of engagement that we're working on from the enrollment side.
Thank you, Dean Miller, for sharing that. I find that to be very important. And also, I'd like to call on Mark Kellen for some additional comments.
Thank you. Given my many hats at LCC, this comment comes as a member of the community, someone who lives in Lansing. I want to thank Trustee Vave for being here and speaking up. It's wonderful to see every example of trustees being actively involved in the community. And recently at the Academic Senate meeting, one of the student senators was talking about an issue that you, Trustee Vave, had raised at a board meeting a year or so ago. And so to see that connection from students to trustees and everybody in between is, as a community member, just what I'd like to see.
Right. Thank you, Mark, for that comment. And it's true. And I was not at the Academic Senate meeting, but I was made aware, and I've been in connection with that student, and I know that Dr. Welch has too. And so, you know, bringing things up, talking about them is really important. So we appreciate that. I agree with Mark. It's great to have trustees that are involved and are not afraid to kind of lend your voice to what we're doing here at the college, and also really encouraging students, because one of the things that we're looking to do in the future is just make sure that we provide additional opportunities to hear from our students. And this is one way of doing that, and that's why we wanted to have this student community listening session. And I know I spoke with a student earlier this week, and I tried to encourage them to attend this also, because I've had some questions come in terms of how can students lend their voice. And so this is one of those ways, and we'll continue to figure out additional methods of making sure that we can get feedback from students. So thank you, everybody, for your comments. And I did notice that Carlotta put in the text, excuse me, in the chat, some information on an MSU program that is similar to the Living Libraries that Trustee Vague mentioned. So with that, I'd like to go to the next strategic focus area, which is leadership, culture, and communication. And here you can see we've defined those. What I'd like to focus on is just a little bit of each of these definitions. In terms of leadership, LCC has always prided ourselves on being the best. We've always prided ourselves on national recognition of this college as being among the greatest colleges in the United States. And so that's something that we want to continue to do. But we're always interested in feedback from our community, because you may be aware of different areas where we're not currently recognized, but you know that we're doing really well in that area, and you may have a suggestion for us. So we open the floor for that. And then in terms of culture, one of the things that we're trying to do at this college is make sure that we have a culture that excels in diversity, equity, inclusion, collaboration, transparency, and continuous improvement. All of those things are important to us. And hopefully you can see that even through these listening sessions. They're a way for us to collaborate with our employees and with our students and with our community. And then in terms of transparency, hopefully you've seen that the information related to these strategic planning sessions have been made available to our employees. So our goal is to really allow everyone to have a voice so that we can continuously improve, and more than anything, so that we can be relevant as we move forward. And then we have communication. Communication is something that we have been working on for a very long time, and we will continue to do so, because we want to make sure that we are providing effective communication to our employees, students, and community, whether that's written, whether that's providing listening sessions like this, whether it's in the marketing materials that we have. We want to make sure that we are providing effective communication. And so with that, I have some questions here, and then I'll go to Mark Kellen for an additional comment. But the questions that we have here are we communicating with our community and students in effective ways? Are there additional methods of communication that would be helpful? Do our current marketing efforts help you understand the educational opportunities that are available at LCC? How can we better serve the community through our non-credit community education programs? With that, I'll open the floor to Mark Kellen.
And I was just sending you a note. I don't seem to have the option of everyone, so I accidentally sent a note to the host, and then I doubled it up with a note to you. So nothing to add at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. So is there anyone else that would have any comments with respect to leadership? You know, how the college can perform as a leader, our culture, especially our culture, because that should be near and dear to everybody that's participating here. Have you seen our culture in such a way that what we've defined here? We want this culture of diversity, equity, inclusion, collaboration, transparency, and continuous improvement. Do you see that? We've been working really hard on our communications with our employees and students. We even have a student newsletter now. Do you see that? Do you see any strides or any improvements that we've made in those areas? Our marketing programs, I've seen some new commercials. How do you feel about those? How do you feel about the billboards, the You Belong Here campaign? You know, are there additional things that we could be doing, especially with our non-credit community education programs? Do you even know that we have those? Do we have any comments from the YouTube participants?
Do not.
We do not? Okay, all right, that's fine. As I said before, each of these topics may not stand out to you. You may not have any strong ideas, and that's perfectly fine. These questions, along with the other ones, we will post on the same website where you received your invitation to this particular event. And you can provide feedback later at strategicplan@lcc.edu. But please note that it's extremely important to us to have this information. I see that Dr. Welch, our provost, has a comment. Dr. Welch?
Thank you for recognizing me again. For that second question, I have really enjoyed being able to see LCC commercials on the TV now. It's every time I see one, I perk up and say, hey, that's my school and where I go and belong to. So I'm really curious to see if that's making an impact. It happened during the big national playoff games. I've seen it now right around the local news time. And so how do people feel about those ads? Is a question that I'm really curious about.
Again, as I drive around my community, I leave my neighborhood, I head down Pennsylvania, and there's a billboard right there that goes over the railroad tracks, and I see those signs. And being a veteran, I'm particularly impressed with the one that shows veterans going into the nursing program. Even though I'm a professor who's been here for many years, I see myself in that billboard, and I think it's fantastic. So I really like, and Dr. Samuel and I were talking about that program recently during one of the Friday sessions, and I learned a lot about how that program came about. But I also wanted to comment on something else. I don't think we do a very good job of communicating internally how extraordinary some of our programs are. I mean, I learn a lot of these things by serving on the curriculum committee. And I know that a lot of my colleagues just don't have access to that information. I mean, I was there when we were running the military medic to paramedic program through the curriculum committee. I don't remember it being advertised that well to other faculty. The psychology program is within our content area eligible to produce a Z degree with OER materials. I don't know how well that's advertised. I tell it to the board and the ELT all the time, but I don't know how much it's advertised around campus. So I think we could do more to highlight how incredible our programs are. When I visited the aircraft maintenance program out in Mason, incredible. I wonder how many other people, I know many of my colleagues know little or nothing about it. When we talk about how incredible the Tech Careers programs are, a lot of my colleagues in arts and sciences are, well, you only care about jobs, you don't care about transfer. I think there's a lot more we could do to let ourselves know just how good we are.
Right, I agree with you, Mark. I think that's a great comment, and I think this is where the did you know comes in handy, and whether we end up having a place on our website with that type of information or doing something different. I agree with you. I think it's important for us to do that. And then also, I think it's where the program in a minute, where those are helpful, because it's really nice to see those programs in action. And I see that we have some comments in the chat. And so a couple people appreciate the You Belong Here campaign and the TV commercials. And I too do believe that they're important. And every time I see it, I'm like Dr. Welch, I get happy, I rewind it, I want to see it again because it means something to me. Now, I know I have a comment from Andrea Terry. Andrea?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo a little bit of what Mark is saying, that it would be so amazing during those short commercials to see some of the beautiful videos that we have of our facilities, and maybe some statistics about what the programs are and the opportunities, highlighting the apprenticeship programs, highlighting all of the collaboration that we have with industry, because I think that we kind of lose an opportunity there with some of our, it's a more general, beautiful commercial, but I think that it would be even more impactful for somebody to see that and go, wow, oh my gosh, look at LCC. Like, that's such an amazing facility there, because we have those videos, but do people know how to find them? And do people know what they're highlighting? So I just think that there's a lot more opportunities. And that kind of goes a little bit into recruitment as well. When we are in the classrooms, talking with students, talking with teachers, and really being able to show some of those things and let them know as well.
Right, that's really good. I think communication is key and really understanding, you're right, where those resources are, because we do have our own YouTube channel, and even these events that we're doing now, you know, they're live streaming, but the videos will be available even after today. And so I think making sure that all of our wonderful commercials are in a place where we can access them after the fact too is something that we can look into. So those are great comments. And Carlotta put in the chat that as a community member, she looks for mail, newspaper commercials, billboards. And I think that's really interesting. The reason it stood out to me is because she mentioned mail and newspaper. And so we do a little bit of that. And it's great to know that that's still important, that people are still looking at it, because we are printing those materials and we are sending them out. So thank you for that comment. And then I also noticed that we have a comment from Susan Perrette about the Belong campaign. And if you don't mind, Susan, if you could share some of your thoughts with us verbally.
Sure. And I'm going to turn on my video too here. I'm from Danforth University, and so, and I work in, you know, obviously I work student services, and I know that it is so important to build that culture of belonging. I mean, if a student feels that they belong and they have that feeling that they fit, you know, it's a part of them, part of their, it's a positive part of their lives. I think it's so huge in the retaining of students. You know, the students, when they feel belong, they want to be a part of things. They want to be more engaged. And I think engaging the student is just so powerful. And I was just about to send another comment about something along those lines, is that even with marketing, and then maybe with, and I know I've seen this with LCC, which I think is so powerful, is the student story of their journey are so impactful, and to be, and make sure that that's within the marketing pieces, and then also just, you know, in events and things that you have throughout CC, I think is the student stories are just peer-to-peer. It's just so much, it's very, very impactful to others to see a person that, you know, that's like them or what have you, that also had, you know, different, you know, that had a different journey or maybe a similar journey, and to be able to learn by those. So I think that's important.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate those comments. And we have a comment from Lane Ingram also. And after Lane Ingram, Dr. Glasgow, if you would like to share.
Thank you. I was just gonna, Dr. Welch said something that reminded me of previous comments when she said that she saw the commercial and she likes it and it makes her happy, you know, and she wondered about the impact. And that takes me back to a little bit of what I said earlier, right? Like, we like it and we have to take that into consideration, right? We are people that work here, we see it, you know, and what does that mean? And are the people that we're trying to reach, are they watching TV, right? And that goes to Andrea's point, which is, what are we doing and how are we doing it and where are we doing it? You know, showing the facilities, and it goes back to what's valuable. What do people consider valuable, right? And that's who is our audience and where are we doing it? And I think, you know, we could be a little more agile, you know, in targeting the students that we want in the places that they're actually at. If we think about, you know, traditional age high school students, what are they doing? They're on their phone, right? And so how are we reaching those people? And so those are just two thoughts I had from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane. I think that's great. And I know one of the things that we've been discussing that we need to do better with is with our social media presence. We have a presence, and just like this event is an event that we marketed through Twitter and other social media accounts. So you're right, it's very important that we meet our students where they are and we communicate to them in ways that they would like to be communicated to. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Glasgow, who put some very interesting comments in the chat, which I agree with respect to things that we have done in the past to introduce our programming to our employees so that we can be better advocates of what we do here at LCC. Dr. Glasgow?
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. And of course, I'm putting a lot in the chat because I don't want to monopolize the conversation. Stop smiling, Lane. I see that. And I agree with the comments. Lane and I and others have been doing this work for a long time. And when I say this work, just trying to figure out the audience, the best way to reach the audience. I have learned a lot from Lane, from marketing. I am by no way an expert, but I've learned enough to know that we have so many audiences. And I listen when our internal stakeholders tell me that they don't know something. I listen when I hear things like medic to paramedic. And if people don't know how we have advertised and pushed that and talked to legislators and recruited and tried to get on what do they call them? When the armed service member is exiting and haven't been able to get on those sites, then that just lets me know we need to do a better job and approach things in a different way in terms of how we communicate our efforts. My mantra is that we all have a responsibility to do whatever LCC does. Recruitment, engagement, marketing, being an advocate, an ambassador. Because if one person tells me they don't know something, then I need to scratch the surface and find out. If HHS is doing virtual tours and tech careers as well, and I'm using those to get the information out, whether it's Turning Point, a male mentoring group for African American males, or it's for HSDCI or the early college, then I want to share that information with others. So whether it's internal or external, when I ask, did you know? And they say no, whatever I can do to get the information in their hand. Any good news should be shared. And we have good news, good programming, excellent services. Who wouldn't want to be at LCC?
Right, that's very good, Dr. Glasgow. Excellent comments, thank you. And one thing that you mentioned was just the fact that we have so many different audiences and so many different stakeholders, both internal and external. And so I think that's important. And Dean Miller put something in the chat about people using streaming services instead of traditional cable and local television. And I think that's very true. And so we have to be mindful of that. So I appreciate that comment being in there. And so I don't know whether, we need to have an LCC podcast or do some additional streaming to help people understand what we do here. But, we're open to meeting our audience where they are, meeting our community members where they are. So with that, I'll move to the next focus area, which is competitiveness and innovation. And so for this definition, we're focused on creating an environment for innovation, intelligent risk-taking, and organizational agility through the practice of vetting and prioritizing ideas to be transformed into new or improved services and processes, which is really important. We want to be competitive, we want to be innovative. And part of this goes back to my original statement about the fact that students have a choice. They have a choice to learn from anywhere. And so we have to make sure that we're competitive enough to make them want to learn at LCC, be it in person or be it through our online programs. So we have to be competitive, and we also have to be innovative. We have to look at what we do in an innovative way. So here are some questions for you. How do we ensure that we provide an educational experience that is highly valuable in the eyes of our students, employers, and community stakeholders? How do we optimize our educational delivery while reducing non-essential courses, thereby increasing our students' ability to enter the workforce and/or experience their educational end sight vision sooner? What can LCC do to separate ourselves from other institutions and for-profit companies that provide educational services? So this is a good one, because when you talk about competitiveness and innovation, we're also talking about relevance. How do we remain relevant? How do we make sure that we have programs that are relevant to our business community? How do we do that? How do we make sure that our programs are focused on certificates and educational degrees that will allow a student to get a job, and a job that's above minimum wage, so that there's a return on their educational investment? How do we do those things? Very, very interested in your feedback. This is important because we spoke about LCC and how we have it all. And we are here to support the community. What separates us from everyone else? There's obviously, other universities that people could go directly to instead of starting at LCC. So what can we do to be more competitive? What can we do in terms of our relationships with our business partners to make sure that we have a steady flow of internships available for our students? What can we do? If you think we're doing a good job with these things, are there any gaps? Are we in a position where we need to, increase the communities that we serve? Lane Ingram, would you like to provide a comment?
Just looking at number 3, and I just keep thinking about like the things that colleges and universities do that are barriers to students. I just keep thinking about the things that annoy students or make it hard. And it's like, what if we didn't do those things? And it was like, this is how we do it at LCC, or that's the LCC does it, or it's not hard at LCC. I mean, that's the main thing I'm thinking of right now to separate ourselves, right? Like, it's easy to go to LCC. That's I mean, that's the thing that students dislike the most, are the things that annoy them that we do. So that's what I got.
Right. That's really good. Thank you for that observation, Lane. Much appreciated. Someone put in the chat that Bo should receive an award, and that could be in response to number 1. And we did talk earlier about leadership. And I do believe that our work that we do with our community and with our Business Community Institute is legendary in the Lansing area. And that is an opportunity for awards, I do believe. We've helped other businesses get awards for financially. And I think that's a great idea, to seek some sort of leadership award for what we do in that area. So I think that's great. Bruce Mackley put in a comment. Bruce, can you share your comment with us?
Oh yeah, sure, Selena. Well, having a fully responsive, mobile-friendly course catalog would go a long way in smoothing out some bumps, I think. I think that's a thing, and I don't know for sure. I guess I should confirm this, but with universities in general, just putting the manpower toward building such a thing and maintaining it and updating it, good user experience.
That's really good. Thanks for that comment. I would agree. If students are on their phone all the time, having a mobile-friendly course catalog is an excellent idea. So thank you for that. Dean Bo Garcia had a comment in there with respect to competition being at every level, real and perceived. And I think that's a great comment. Bo, would you like to expound on that comment?
Yes, thank you. What I meant by that is that customers define value at the end of the day. Our students define value, and and their perception of value is very, very real. So it's, we will compete on product with other institutions of higher education and our price point. And even as Bruce just mentioned, our promotional and our marketing campaigns we compete in the eyes of the perception of our customers. We compete at our channel of distribution. How do we get our service to the marketplace? Face to face, online, hybrid. How do we deliver it? Lane made some great points about the changing complexion of our community and our demographics and our customers and our students. But one area is also is our customer service, and I think that is a distinct value proposition that we offer our students. We do good work. Aside from our line of business and what we offer, it's how we deliver that as well. So our customer service, I think, is a unique selling proposition that we can capitalize upon. And it's something just to be considered. We will be competitive if we innovate, but part of being innovative is creating an environment within which we can be innovative. And it's all connected. So just sometimes we'll see these competitive fields and other places we won't, but they're all very, very real in the eyes of our students. So just wanted to make that.
That's really good, Dean Garcia. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad you mentioned customer service, because that's really important. At the end of the day, when we have people visiting our campus, being in our classrooms, we want them to feel appreciated. And if they're using any of our services, we want to make sure that we're providing good customer service so that, they want to come back as needed, that they have a good experience, and they too can be advocates for the college. So I don't see any additional comments on this one. So what I'll do is I'll move to the next focus area. Well, it looks like we do have one comment from Susan. Susan, would you like to share that comment?
Sure. I was just looking at the middle question, and I started thinking about experiential learning, such as service learning, and getting the students to think more about the end in mind, and kind of bridging that gap between education and industry and doing it earlier in their program, and providing that opportunity to do service learning within the industry, whatever their program of interest is. And sometimes that can bridge a gap. I know sometimes the technology, in the technology area, we have so many jobs available for those that are in technology, but yet sometimes getting students interested in technology and bridging that gap between the two can sometimes be a challenge. And this is one way of possibly getting them more involved and embedded in the industry early while they're taking courses.
That's a really good comment, Susan. I agree with you. I think bridging that gap between education and industry is extremely important for a couple reasons. I mean, I think it helps a student confirm what industry they'd like to work in. So when you get those experiences, it lets you know, hey, this is for me or this isn't for me. So I think that's a great comment. Thank you. So moving on to our next focus area that I really want to talk about, it is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is a new focus area for us, but it's really good. It's really important. And so what I'd like to start out by doing is just breaking this up and going ahead and defining each one. And this is important because diversity, equity, inclusion, we often refer to it as DEI, but sometimes it gets lost that these are three different things. So diversity refers to the variety of human differences and personal experiences, values, and worldviews that arise from cultural and circumstance differences. So that's important. Now, equity refers to the ongoing practice of recognizing and eliminating barriers and bias within procedures, processes, and distribution of resources in a structure or system. And if you see the bottom of the screen, there's a picture, and that picture really kind of explains equity. You know, making sure that each person has the same ability to see that particular baseball game. In the second picture, it kind of is a better example of equity. And then we talk about inclusion. Inclusion refers to the act of creating safe and welcoming environments in which every person feels invited, accepted, respected, supported, and valued to participate fully. And that's really important. We want all of our students and employees to feel like they are included and that they can participate fully in everything that's available at the college. So with those things in mind, I have some questions for you. How do we ensure that DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is embedded and integrated in every aspect of the college? How can we attract a diverse student and employee body? How can we foster a workplace culture of inclusivity through events, communication, employee and student engagement, and staff recognition? How can we proactively highlight and engage students and employees in cultural competency and transform learning experiences to positively impact the greater society? So those are some questions. They may seem like loaded questions where there's a lot to it. There's a lot to think about before you can really provide some feedback. But I will say most people that have been around LCC for a little bit here, even if you've just been around us for the last year, you would know that our Board of Trustees passed a resolution that really dealt with racism and making sure that we as a college don't have any systems in place that would support such things. And in response to that, you know, we put together an equity action plan, and it's a full plan, I think a little bit less than 30 pages worth of content and information with respect to how we plan on addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what was in the Equity Action Plan was really a compilation of thoughts from not only what we received in terms of instruction from our board, but from our executive leadership, our faculty, and our employees. So it was really a collaborative effort. But a couple communities that we didn't really hear from, or stakeholders that we didn't really hear from as much, they were involved a little bit, but not as much, is our students and our community members. So this is really an opportunity for you to talk to us about diversity, equity, and inclusion. When you come on our campus, do you feel like it is a welcoming, inclusive place? If we held an event on our campus, do you feel like you would be comfortable attending? Are there experiences that you had on our campus that made you think, you know what, this is something that they can do better in making sure that people feel included? We want to know. We're not perfect. We're working very hard on this, but we need your feedback. We want your feedback to help us with this. So are there any comments with respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion and these questions that have been presented? Anybody? Well, I don't currently see any comments, but if possible, what I'd like is for Dr. Robinson to just make some comments about why this is so important that the college is focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Robinson?
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. And I appreciate the opportunity because for those of us who work at LCC who are here, for Trustee Vave and for everyone out in the community, I'd just like everybody to know that as a relative newcomer to LCC, the commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion is a real strong suit of our college. We've taken some exceptional steps toward addressing some of the systemic challenges our society faces when it comes to racism, disparity, and equity. And community colleges in particular, I think, are in a great position to lead on this issue. And so Dr. Samuel already mentioned the board's resolution, which is one of the only of its kind that I've seen, that in addition to putting a position statement out here saying this is how we feel about an issue, our board of trustees followed that up with an assignment or an action step, a set of action steps. So one thing that's really important to know about this as it relates to the strategic plan is our equity action plan is also a planning document that will live alongside of our strategic plan. So that's thing number one. And thing number two is that the important feedback we get in sessions like this about diversity, making sure that our student body and our employees represent the community. Equity, making sure that we do things for underserved populations. And inclusion, making sure that folks actually feel like they are engaged and have a place here once they're a part of our college. All of those things will also be embedded into our strategic plan. So even if folks from the community don't weigh in and answer these specific questions, very important answers to these questions are being woven into our strategic plan. And it's something that LCC is a leader when it comes to this. So thanks, Dr. Samuel.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. And Mark Kellen has a comment, and I really appreciate Mark making a comment because as a faculty member, I think you know that we have tried to make strides in bringing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the classroom. So thank you in advance for your comment.
And I'm truly honored to be one of the faculty support members working with some reassigned time in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. I know that Dr. Bailey couldn't be here today. She has done just an amazing job, but primarily in something I was talking about a great deal with the young men in our Men About Progress program last week. Motivation is key to everything we do. And Tanya is an amazing motivator, but there's also a lot new happening in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Both the Center for Engaged Inclusion and the Cesar Chavez Learning Center have new directors. If the two of them have been here a month, it's only been a month. I am extraordinarily impressed with how they've hit the ground running with their knowledge, their skills, their understanding. So there's a lot of new things happening. And what we really, really need to do is sustain the effort. I'll share a quick little story without going into too many details. But one of the programs we had in the past, not too long ago, attempted to help programs close the equity gaps in success between students of color as compared to white students. And this particular program was successful. And so we asked them what the state of the program was now, and they said, well, once the program ended, we basically went back to doing things like we usually did, and the equity gap opened again. That's unacceptable. whatever else they needed to do. And as accreditation liaison officer, I appreciate it. There are things we need to do, but we need to sustain those efforts in equity for the good of our students, because obviously we have to fill out reports for the Higher Learning Commission and Department of Education and all of that. But what's the point if we're bogging down faculty with paperwork? I've floated an idea of some division of labor to try to identify faculty who like working on the nerdy paperwork, regulatory stuff, and faculty who want to focus on our students and changing the culture a little bit so that we understand, we'll take input from our faculty focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they'll accept our input on the regulatory side and the paperwork side. That's an important shift in culture for the faculty, but it can only be done hand in hand with our supervisors. So it's something that a lot of the groundwork has been laid for, but we really need to sustain those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate those comments. I will say when I first came to LCC, I was invited to be a part of the President's Advisory Council on Diversity and Inclusion, and that was over 8 years ago. And what happened with that particular committee is that one of the suggestions that came out of it was that we have a Chief Diversity Officer. And so that position has been created, and that was just one position. But you fast forward to today and you see our true highest emphasis on diversity, equity, inclusion. And not only do we have a Chief Diversity Officer, but we have other employees, as you have mentioned, that are now going to be working with our Chief Diversity Officer. So we've made great strides, and there has been financial investment that has been put towards diversity, equity, inclusion so that we can sustain the work and so that we can build upon what we've done. So thank you for mentioning that. It's important. It's a lot of work to be done. And what we want to do is just help make sure that as you mentioned before, when we do make progress, that we continue to progress instead of going in the wrong direction with a particular area. So thank you so much for that comment. We are totally and completely committed to diversity, equity, inclusion. And when you see the results of the strategic plan and the document that's created, it will be evident, as well as what's evident in our equity action plan. I encourage every employee to take a look at that because it's important. And then it's on our website too. So in case we have community members that would like to see it, that's important for you to know too. And then I would leave you with this, and in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, I encourage you to go to the lcc.edu website and look at our Office of Diversity and Inclusion website, and you will receive an open invitation to different events that we have, such as our Courageous Conversations, where we talk about issues that people don't normally talk about. They normally just let it be an elephant in the room. Well, we're not doing that at LCC. We are dealing with and tackling and conversing about issues that sometimes are hard to acknowledge in the first place and definitely difficult to talk about. So I encourage everyone to participate in those. And again, if you don't have any strong comments about this right now, you can provide additional feedback at strategicplan@lcc.edu. So the last focus area that I'd like us to review is resource management and fiscal responsibility. And so in terms of resource management, it's important to recognize that LCC is really looking at our financial, human, and physical resources. So resource management isn't just about the finances, it's about our human resources. It's about our facilities. So it's about all of those things. And how can we be fiscally responsible? And with that, I have 3 questions for you. How can we ensure that all students receive a positive return on their educational investment? How should financial data impact our service and program offerings? How can we celebrate our students in a meaningful way? So these are all important questions. The first question speaks to the fact that there is more competition out there, and we want to make sure that our students get a return on their education investment, that they're able to successfully pay back their student loans if they have them. So that's what we're looking at. Make sure that they have a job where they have a salary that is a good salary because they spent this time to invest in getting their education. And then also, how should financial data impact our services and our program offerings? That's important because even though we're a comprehensive community college, we are obviously similar to other colleges and universities. We are limited by the revenue sources that we have, most of which we have no control over. So how do we deal with these issues? How do we allow financial data to impact how we perform our services and the programs that we offer? And then lastly, how can we celebrate our students in a meaningful way? We really believe in investing in our students. Are there any things that we can do that we're not currently doing to show that we care about our students and that we're invested in them? Those are important things to think about. And as you think about it, I'd like to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Don Wilson, to make some comments about just even the scholarships that we have available to our students, because I don't think a lot of people know about the degree to which LCC helps our students financially. Don, can you shed some light on those things?
Thank you, Selena. Yes, definitely. I've been to 3 different community colleges, and LCC by far exceeds those other 2 institutions in the amount of resources that it uses for scholarships from institutional funds. We're somewhere between $1.6 and $1.7 million. We try to keep those amounts somewhere in the vicinity of about 4% of tuition and fee revenue. In addition to tuition and fee scholarships, college also provides scholarships for childcare. Now, of course, in the recent and current situation, due to the pandemic, there has not been as many scholarships used for childcare. However, as we go through the current fiscal year, we'll probably end up using some of that money not spent there on additional tuition and fee scholarships. We try to cover both the, I'll call it merit, but also need-based scholarships institutionally. And we model part of our program to emulate what the federal government calls the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, which is the grant for the neediest of the needy. And so I think we take a lot of pride in how we handle our institutional scholarships. And also we work in conjunction with the foundation as they have foundation scholarships. And so we want to make sure that between the 2 organizations, we maximize the use of both the foundation funds and the college's institutional funds.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Are there any questions or comments with respect to this particular focus area? Okay, seeing none, I would like to just again reiterate that we will have these questions online, and if you would like to provide input at a later date, you can email that to strategicplan@lcc.edu. We'd like to get the comments back by March 12th, close of business, because what we're doing is we're combining what we're receiving here at these student and community listening sessions with what we received from our employee sessions, because we don't want to miss anything. We don't want to miss any thoughts. So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you send them to us if you have additional thoughts. So what I would like to do prior to Dr. Robinson giving some closing comments, I'd like to, if possible, hear from some people that have been on the line that we haven't heard from. I'm particularly interested in hearing from Leah Melchar, because you work with our K-12 programs, and I'd be very interested in your thoughts on any of the things that we discussed today.
Thanks, Selena. Yeah, it's been a great discussion today. And I think engaging our K-12 partners can help us meet some of our goals. I know Andrea Terry brought up the mentoring. And I think that would be a great way to help high school students transition to college. I think there's a lot of potential for growth with our High School Advantage program, and getting high school students to take advantage of the college credit that LCC offers. And also our Coalition for College and Career Readiness is doing a lot of great work too. So.
Thank you, Leah. That's certainly appreciated. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have two final comments, one from Trustee Vave and then from Dr. Robinson. Trustee Vave?
Thanks, Dr. Samuel. Sorry, I wrote some notes down somewhere. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. One is that I know we didn't have any students come and speak about this in this meeting, but in one of our last in-person board meetings, we had a student come who was very concerned about the future of the earth, as I think a lot of our students are and younger generations are and should be. And they were very concerned about green technologies and what we were doing on campus to promote energy efficiency and things like that. And I'm just throwing that out there because I have heard students talk about it, that it might be something that is on the minds of students that they aren't bringing up. Another thing that I think is a unique challenge for LCC, because as we've heard in this event, there are so many great things about LCC, so many things that we should be proud of, so many things that we've accomplished. On the other hand, we are not perfect, and there are things that we need to improve on. And I have heard both within the community and outside of the community some comments that when LCC starts talking, it can sound a little bit like we're looking through rose-colored glasses, or we're just going to talk up how great we are. And then I think some people just sort of tune out because they don't want to hear a bunch of, look at how great we are, if that hasn't been their experience. And I don't know the answer. I don't know how we promote the parts of our program that really are so great without making people feel like we only want to talk about what's great and we don't want to talk about the things that need improving. I think these conversations are a great way to show the community, the greater community, that we do want to improve and we want to know what they need and how to be better. But I think that's a unique challenge that we will have to face as we continue to move forward and improve. How do we talk about ourselves in a way that people can hear it? And then the last thing, this was on the table that I'm sitting at, and you can see, I mentioned earlier that my husband had such a great experience at LCC, that he truly valued his time there. This is one of his notebooks from when he was there over 10 years ago, from one of his poetry classes, because of just the profound experience that he had working with his poetry teacher. And I mean, that's incredible to me. A decade later, it's still sitting on our table. And that's the kind of thing that we can offer at LCC. And it's just so important. So thanks everyone for being here and sharing and listening and helping us to improve.
Thank you, Trustee Vave. We appreciate those comments, and hopefully members of the community that participated today did have an opportunity to hear some candid comments from people that work at the college about things that we need to improve on. So thank you for that. That's important. We have to be able to present information in such a way that people can listen. So thank you. And Dr. Robinson, what I'd like to do is have you close everything out. But before I do that, I do want to personally thank everybody for staying tuned and being with us, and invite you out for the community listening session that's going to take place on Friday. It's going to be in the morning from 10 a.m. to noon. So we might have a different set of individuals joining us, and hopefully there are no internet issues around the state. So with that, just give yourselves a round of applause for your participation, and a big round of applause for our president, Dr. Robinson, who is really mindful of making sure that we are transparent and that we provide opportunities like this for you to lend your voice. Dr. Robinson?
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. I haven't done anything yet to applaud. But speaking of applause, in wrapping up, I would like to acknowledge the facilitation work of Dr. Samuel, who's been leading a lot of sessions like this. So digital round of applause for Dr. Samuel, not only for facilitation, but for really bringing our team together with some great design work. This session is one component of a larger framework. So I really want to thank everyone who is part of LCC, our trustee Vave, thank you so much for being here, and members of the community, because this really is vital. I do want to address one very important observation that Trustee Vave made. I think this is a very key point, to tell the positive story about Lansing Community College without being Pollyannish or trying to shut down dialogue about how we could get better. It's really important that we have a continuous quality improvement lens for all of this. And to that point, coming back to Dr. Samuel and the design, we've built into this process an attempt to be aspirational, being better than we are. So yeah, we here at LCC justifiably pound our chest about the great things that we do. But we also want to take a look in the mirror and say, we would like to be better, and what do we need to do that? And sometimes that means frankly saying when things aren't the way they ought to be. I want to finish by saying that I've done a lot of this kind of work in sessions like this, and I appreciate so much everybody who's here. I want to thank the staff members who are here. I know that every one of us who works at the college wishes that there were even more people from the community here. And I'll tell you a quick story. The last time I did a comprehensive strategic plan for a community college back in Ohio, we did sessions like this across the service district. And in a couple of them, the attendees, our college employees outnumbered the attendees. And in one of them, and I would always come with pizza and pop to these things, one of them, nobody came. That session was in Fostoria, Ohio. And I want to tell you, I felt badly that day that nobody came to our session. Every time I talked to a leader in Fostoria, Ohio, they thanked me for having that session, for providing the opportunity. So this process is as much about providing an opportunity for input as it is for having great conversations like we just had. So I just want to thank everybody on our team for the positive work that they've done. I want to thank community members for being here, and have a wonderful, enjoy this mid-Michigan sun. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, everyone.